Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to the Sims 4 speedrunning video, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building in the world of Myshuno, which is the world that we got from the expansion pack of Sims 4 City Living, and I'm going to be building a set of New York brownstone apartments using custom content. So first things first, before I get too far into it, I do just want to recommend that you go grab yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, just something to snack on. Me personally, I've just made myself a cup of tea, although it will probably go cold during the duration of this voiceover because, as you might have noticed by the timestamp, this video is a bit of a big one. I think this is probably my longest video that I've ever uploaded on the channel, but this week I really wanted to sit down and build a New York brownstone apartment, almost like a miniature complex in the game. Now this was very much inspired by the latest expansion pack release that we've got for The Sims 4, which was The Sims 4 For Rent EP. Pretty much ever since we got even word that it was going to be able to have multiple different houses and multiple different families live on one lot, honestly I had about 101 different ideas come to my mind. But to build a set of New York brownstone apartments has been something that I've wanted to do for so long, and out of all the ideas that I've got, this was kind of like the one that I was almost itching to build the most. And so yeah, that is what I decided to build this week, and I am just so happy and just so incredibly proud of the way that this apartment complex came out, and just yeah, I really hope you guys like it. But anyway, getting on and actually talking a little bit more about the build itself. So in total, this lot ends up having 3 separate New York brownstone apartments, or do I call it apartments or townhouses? I don't even know. I can't even ask you, because by the time this video goes up, I would have titled this video, but I'm not sure to refer to these as townhouses or apartments, because to me they're more townhouse-like, but then people say New York brownstone apartments and not townhouses, if you get what I mean. But either way, there ends up being 3 of them. There is 3 separate units on this lot that you're seem to move into. Now, in terms of the interior style and kind of like the decorations, I went for a completely different style in each one of the townhouses. In this first one that you're seeing me build right now, I went for like a French antique, very beautiful, like dainty looking furniture. It kind of reflects the exterior in some sort of way, which I'm not sure if this first townhouse is looking somewhat similar to you, but basically the starting process of this build, I was thinking about all the different films, all the different TV shows that I've watched over the years that feature New York brownstone apartments, and one that has always stood out to me in my mind was, you know, this series You on Netflix with, I don't know his real name, but I just know him from Gossip Girl and I know him from You. You know, it's called Joe. He's a bit of a stalker. Well, I say a bit of a stalker, that's an understatement actually. But anyway, besides the point, the series You on Netflix, there is a girl in the first season called Beck. Now, Beck's townhouse has always stood out to me in my mind, which I'm not sure if any other builders that do this, but whenever I watch any sort of TV show, any film, anything, I always just register what the house looks like more so than the plot. But her townhouse in the series has always stood out to me in my mind. And so what I did, I went onto Google, did a little tiny bit of digging. It wasn't actually that hard to find, but then I found the real address of the exterior shots of what they shot in the series You. So when you're watching the series, you kind of see like the outside of the building. I basically went and found the real life address of the building that they shot in the Netflix show, popped it into my Google Maps, went onto Street View, and basically tried to rebuild it to some sort of similarity, to some sort of degree. Just in case you've never seen the series You, or just in case you have maybe seen it, but to be fair, season 1 came out forever and a day ago, so you might not have it fresh in your mind. I will pop a picture of Beck's townhouse right now on the screen, so you can kind of see some kind of similarities going on, more so in like the structure of the walls and how we have like these bump outs, and more so the windows that have like the curvy bit at the top. Yeah, it was very much inspired by Beck's townhouse in the series You. But then for this second apartment over here, which I've started building, basically when I was on Street View, I decided to have a little bit of a wander around, because you know on Street View you can kind of like click and it basically acts like you're walking just on Google. Like you can basically just like go backwards and forwards and just, you can basically wander around on Google Street View if you want to put it that way. But when I was outside this initial Beck's townhouse apartment, I decided to have a little bit of a wander, and I went down at the end of the road, and there ended up being this really beautiful building that was like this dark reddy browny brick, and it had so much ivy on it, and I just absolutely loved it. And so I thought, well, why don't I just basically try and recreate that one? And so yeah, the inspiration for the second one, I think it might be someone's actual house. I'm not going to put a picture of that one on the screen, but if you Google Beck's townhouse and then you find the address. I think I went left on Street View if you're directly in front of it, but there is, yeah, this beautiful brownstone building, and it's this red and brown brick, and it's got all this ivy growing up it. It's actually massive, which I didn't want to make my version massive. I just kind of took inspiration from it, but that was the inspiration for the second building. And then for the third building, which I'm yet to build, I'm just about to start it, I just wanted to build something classical, something which to me it just screams New York brownstone. Like, whenever I think of this type of building in my mind, this is pretty much what I picture. Like, this is the image that comes to my mind. And so for this third and final one, yeah, there was no like real life inspiration. It was just basically the picture that I had in my mind just popped into the game. And so this one ends up being very classical. I use the same windows that I used on the first one, which these windows that I'm using, by the way, they are from the Brownstone collection by Harry, which is absolutely perfect because it's quite literally made for this kind of build. And also the front door is from the Brownstone collection. Now, in terms of where every single piece of CC is from, I'm not going to be able to tell you where absolutely everything is from throughout this video. I'm going to try my best, don't get me wrong, but there is just so much CC. Like, honestly, recently I went on a massive shopping CC spree and I downloaded so much, and so you're going to be seeing a lot of new CC in comparison to my last build, because this is the thing as well. I only did a CC build about a month ago, which normally, if you're familiar with my channel, you might know this, but with my CC builds, I do like to space them out because I do appreciate that not everyone can download custom content. Some people might have like lower spec PCs, some people play on console, and so when it comes around to building with CC, I try and do them every so often, but not too much. But like I said, I've just wanted to build a New York brownstone apartment, more in particular using custom content for literally ages, and I thought what not more of a perfect time than now. And so yeah, I really hope you guys don't mind, but either way, in terms of all the custom content that you're going to be seeing in this build and in this video, I will be linking absolutely every single individual piece of CC in a Google Doc link in the description box down below. Now, whenever I do any sort of CC build, I normally link you to a Google Doc link rather than just listing it out like in the description box, because it looks wordy. When you write down every single creator, every single pack, and every single like information that you need about the CC to download it and have it in your game, in the description box alone, it's just so over complicated, it just looks really messy. And so I'll be linking you to a Google Doc link, and in that Google Doc link you'll have the creator, you have the packs, you know where to find them. Basically, I try and make it as easy as I can possible for you to download all the CC that you're going to see in this build and have it in your own personal game. The Google Doc link that I'm going to be listing in the description box is also going to have a key like built into the actual Google Doc link itself, which if you're familiar with my CC videos, you probably know the key system that I'm talking about. But basically, whenever I do a CC video, if I previously listed the CC that I'm using in, say for example, this build in my last CC build, I'll highlight it like a certain I do have like a little description on the actual link itself to properly explain it, but I basically do like a color coded system for if you've previously downloaded the CC that I've previously linked to you. If it's color coordinated, you don't need to re-download it. It just saves you re-downloading the same things over and over again. And so yeah, there will be a little key system in the Google Doc link. But either way, besides the point, getting back and actually talking about the individual townhouses and their individual styles. So like I said, the first initial townhouse that I started off by building, the one that is basically sandwiched in between the two other buildings, that ends up being very French antique, very dainty, just very up my street. I absolutely loved furnishing that apartment. But then saying that, I had so much fun just decorating each of the individual apartments because they're so different in comparison to each other. Like, I tried to use all different furniture pieces, all different furniture sets. I tried to go for all different individual styles, just so if you are playing in this build, you can kind of easily identify which townhouse is what, just because the wallpapering is completely different, the flooring is completely different, the decorations, the furniture is all completely different and all kind of unique to each one of the apartments. If you're familiar with the CC creator by the name of Felix Andre, which I'm sure you probably are if you dabble in a bit of CC, but if you're familiar with Felix Andre, you might be familiar with their CC sets like the Chateau set, the Paris set, the Florence set. I basically went to town with them CC packs in particular in the middle townhouse and kind of focused on them more kind of antique looking dainty furniture styles. The middle townhouse ends up having 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, and I decorated it to be for a single mum who lives there with her 2 children. One is an infant and then one is a little kid. I was building it to some sort of storyline for each one of the apartments, but I'm going to more so focus on the storylines when we actually move on into the individual townhouses, because I can appreciate it might make sense to me because I've been thinking about it for this past week, but to you, if I'm telling you these storylines and I've got something completely different on the screen, it might be a little bit difficult to follow along with. But yeah, I have got a storyline for each one of the Sims and all of the different households that live in each of the individual units. But yeah, for the middle one, there ends up being 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Now, focusing on the building that I built second, so the one that was inspired by just a random brownstone apartment that I found on Street View, that one ends up having 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and that one I tried to make a little bit more modern masculine, if you want to put it that way. For that apartment, I tried to mainly focus on the CC set by Piro Sim, which is called David's Apartment. Not sure if you're familiar with the CC set, but it is so cool. Like, it's just so amazing, like how all these different individual pieces are created, and there is this kitchen set that's got like this open pantry and it's got these little spices and they've got cutting boards, and it is just a very good CC pack. And I think I mentioned in one of my last videos where I built a CC that I really wanted to build an apartment basically using that CC set, and when I said that, I was more so imagining that I would just furnish an apartment. I didn't think I'd actually build a physical apartment, but here we are, and that is what that one ends up being. And so yeah, 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. There is most definitely space to add a 3rd bedroom in that particular apartment if you want to, but again, for that apartment I had this storyline that I was building towards, and I was basically imagining that there was this mid-30-year-old bloke. I'm saying bloke because I was more so imagining that a man would live there because I was focused on David's apartment. I was thinking the Sim that lives in that apartment was called David and everyone calls him Dave, but besides the point, I was basically imagining that particular Sim was really techie, owned some sort of like tech company or something like that. And so on the 2nd level, there is an absolutely colossal home office, and it ends up being so cool because I end up using all these like industrial office pieces that are from, I think, the Berlin set by Felix Andre. But yeah, there is definitely space for a 3rd apartment in that unit. But then for the final and 3rd apartment, the one that is over here on currently the right hand side, but if you was to go front of the build, it's on the left hand side, that one ends up having 4 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. It's the biggest one out of all of them, and for that one I imagined a group of young adults are basically just mates and they all live together, but then all the different Sims kind of have like some sort of storyline that I decorated their individual bedrooms to. And so yeah, that is all the different bedrooms and bathrooms. Going from right to left, we have 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Middle one has 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and the last one ends up having 4 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. A lot of bedrooms and a lot of bathrooms, and it was a lot of fun. But either way, besides the point, getting on and actually getting back and talking about what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, I'm currently just going around the exterior of the build, basically just finishing it up, making some final touches to the exterior building, trying to make it look a little bit more realistic, adding in some more of this ivy. The ivy that I'm using, by the way, it's just from the live edit menu, and you've got it if you've got the Discover University expansion pack. I also then found a live edit ladder and dangled it off the fire escapes on either side of the building, because to me, whenever I think of a classic New York apartment, not so much a brownstone, but more just so like a random apartment in like the middle of not Times Square, I don't think you'll find them in Times Square, but you know, just a random typical New York apartment, a lot of them have fire escapes. And so I placed on a little fire escape either side of the building, but then I wanted there to be some sort of ladder, but I didn't want it to go all the way down and connect to the floor, because to me, whenever I think of them, the ladder's always kind of like dangling off. And I've seen so many different films and shows before in the past where people will try and like hook onto the ladder, whether it be like an umbrella or something, and then they pull it down. And so I found this live edit ladder, which is from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack, and basically just dangled it on either sides of the fire escape. But Either way, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved on into the first apartment, and I'm focusing on the apartment, first of all, that is on the right hand side. It is the smallest one, and it is the one that I mainly tried to focus on using the David's apartment CC pack in. So for the sim that I imagine to live in this one particular apartment, I imagine to be a single bloke. He lives here a lot. I say single bloke, I do imagine he does have a partner that he sees every once in a while, but in terms of like his living situation, I imagine that he likes to spend a lot of time on his own. He's a bit of an introvert. He's someone that is working in the tech career. And so you might notice throughout this whole entire apartment, there is so many different MacBooks and just technology stuff everywhere, because when I was building this, like I said, I was focused on the David's apartment CC pack, and there is a lot of different like MacBook decorations. Imperial Sim made a MacBook, but it's actually a TV, so you can put it down onto like a little side table, and it looks like your sim has just been, I don't know, on Twitter or on YouTube or just on something, or like their version of YouTube, but it looks like your sim has been on the computer and they've just left the screen open, but it's actually a functional TV. Like your sims can use that as a TV. It is just so cool. And where I was using so much of like this technology based stuff within this particular apartment, I thought it'd be really nice if I was to build it for a sim that is in the tech career and owns some sort of like techie company kind of thing. So initially you would have seen me furnish the front door area, which ends up being very small. Like this apartment is the smallest out of all of them. The front entrance doorway, you literally walk in through the front door and you literally just turn, not even a full turn, but like you can half turn your body and you're already in the lounge room. Like it's very squished in this apartment, but I kind of liked the floor plan. It's actually one of my favourite floor plans out of all three of them, just because the way that it's all just so well connected with one another, and it feels quite homey even though it is quite modern. And the thing is as well with me, whenever I seem to build more modern houses, I've really struggled to make them feel homey and warm and welcoming, but I feel like with the floor plan of this particular apartment, where it is also like closed in and so close together, it kind of feels quite homey in some sort of sense. But either way, as you can see, I've moved on and I started furnishing the kitchen. Now for this kitchen, I basically use pretty much the whole entire David's apartment CC set, and it is just so cool. Like, it's just so amazing. So first of all, I basically came in and I placed down all the different counter pieces that I wanted to use, all the different like cabinet shelving kind of units. With the David's apartment CC set, there is this kind of like pantry set that you can kind of like mix and match and build your own pantries. It's very cool. It's the one that I placed basically bang center in the middle of the back wall onto, I was about to say onto the other side, but the other wall that you can't currently see, I placed down is basically like pantry unit, but it looks like it's been open, and on one door it looks like it's been open and then folded, but then the other door it's open. It's got all these different like spices and bottles and cutting boards in, and it's just so detailed, and it's just so amazing. Like, I'm absolutely in love with the CC set. And so I placed that down. I then placed down like a little induction hob into the middle counterpiece, and then I placed down like a little fridge unit. I then made a little like breakfast bar island thing in the middle of the room. Now David's apartment, I'm referring to this whole entire apartment by the way as David's apartment. I was honestly thinking that the sim that lives here is just a bloke called Dave, and so when I was furnishing it I was thinking, would Dave had this in his apartment? Would Dave wear these kind of clothes in his wardrobe? Like, I was literally referring to the sim in my mind as Dave, because, well, I mean, the CC set that kind of inspired this whole entire apartment was called David's apartment. But either way, besides the point, this particular apartment is the only one out of the three that doesn't have its own separate like dining room space or dining room table, and it is just because it's just a single bloke living here, and so he has a little breakfast bar, but on the breakfast bar I did something which honestly made me so happy, and hopefully you like it as well. But basically I have a piece of CC from the Unfold set by Puree Sim, which is basically a collection of toast in a little toast holder. It is the most adorable thing ever. I placed that down onto the breakfast bar. I then went through and found a butter dish and then also a stack of plates, and I popped it down, and to me, I'm thinking, bless him, of a morning he sits there and he eats his breakfast. Next to him he's got his MacBook and he's got his little coffee. Just honestly, the details that you have with CC really are doing the God's work. Like, honestly, you can't get this kind of stuff in like the normal DLC paid content that we have for the game. Don't get me wrong, I still love all the paid content that we do get, but CC creators, they know where it's at. They're just, honestly, they're the best. And this is why CC builds are just some of my favourite things to ever film. But, you know, I made like a little breakfast area on the breakfast bar. And then also in the kitchen, I ended up placing down some sort of like shelving unit for like extra plates, extra bowls and stuff. And then also a little side table. But now, as you can see, I've now moved over and I've started furnishing the lounge. So when it came through to furnishing this apartment, I'm also wanting to focus on doing the kitchen first, where I knew that a lot of the stuff from David's apartment was going to be used. And then once I had the kitchen, you know, like done and dusted and I was sorted, I then wanted to move on into the lounge to then kind of decorate off the back of the kitchen, if that makes any sense. So in the lounge room, I use a new piece of custom content that I've only recently just downloaded, literally within the past week, and it is this fireplace from the new set, which I think is called the Woodland set, or like the Woodland Ranch, again by Pierre Sim. Honestly, this pretty much whole entire apartment is a Pierre Sim showcase of basically all their amazing custom content that they've ever made. But this kind of style of CC that this creator makes just fitted the vibe of what I wanted to go for so perfectly. But yeah, this fireplace, it's meant to be for like a ranch, but I thought it was really cool for like some sort of like modern masculine interior. I then decided to pair it with these sofas, which again from Pierre Sim, it's from the winter collection, or like the winter garden collection. And then this armchair, which I've wanted to use this one particular armchair for so long in so many of my previous CC builds, but it's such a particular pattern that I feel like it's quite hard normally to use it and mix and match it, but it worked in this lounge room. It's the one that's over there on, I say over there, I'm pointing and you actually can't see my finger, and also I don't know where I'm pointing, I'm literally just pointing at the ceiling, but it's the one that's on the right hand side, and it's got the tall standing lamp kind of like going over it. That lamp always looks like the Pixar, you know when you ever watch like a Pixar film and you get the little lamp that kind of like runs along and then like jumps on, I think it's the eye that it jumps on. It looks like that, but it's really cool, and it also went with this apartment, and so I plopped that down. And then behind the armchair I put some leaning artwork, and then onto the other side I found some sort of like metal cubey thing. I don't know what it is, but it's cool. So I placed that down, and I also placed down like a little plant in the corner. And then behind the sofas, in kind of like the walkway from the front door through the lounge into the kitchen, I placed down these bookcases. The bookcases that I've used are from the Octave set by Hey Harry, and I basically just go through and just cluster them up with loads of different books and folders and records and like random plants and statues and just random bits and bobs. Also, by the way, the amount of times I've placed down books in not only this one apartment, but all of the different apartments, there is so many different bookcases and just like book nooks basically. But there is so many good CC packs that just offer so many good book decorations, and so yeah, you're going to see a lot of bookcases, but by far this is probably the most modern out of all of them. The rest of the bookcases, I use ones by Felix Andre, and they are from, I believe, the Chateau collection, but either way, as you can see, I'm just going through now and basically just finishing up the cluttering of the bookcase. Whenever I do like large areas of cluttering where I want to really just pull out pretty much everything from my CC catalogue, I will oftentimes just start putting them out onto the floor and then just skip through until I've got the final few pieces, because honestly, I spend so much time, it's kind of embarrassing, the amount of time that I just spend just looking through the catalogue, going through every single category, just trying to find all the right pieces to match the kind of idea that I have in my mind. And so yeah, you're going to see me skip through a lot of like the searching process in terms of cluttering out like bookcases and surfaces and stuff, but hopefully it's easy enough to follow along with. But either way, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved on to the upstairs, and I started off by focusing on this main office area. So in here, I knew coming into this initial office room space that I really wanted to try and solely focus on the CC pack by Felix Andre that is called the Berlin set, because I've had it in my game for some time now, and I've done a few builds here and there where I've kind of like dabbled in it a little bit, but for this particular build, the kind of style of furniture that comes from the Berlin set just matches so perfectly with some of the other stuff that I furnished this apartment with. And so in here, I basically started off this room by finding these file cabinets. There is some open versions of them as well, which it just makes me so happy because these little realistic details that you get with custom content just makes builds feel more realistic and feels like a sim is actively using this house, you know, they're actually living in it. But I placed down these file cabinets. I initially was going to place them on the opposite wall, but I then remembered that from the Berlin set, we've got this one particular, it's kind of like an architectural model of some sort of building or something, and I really wanted to place it down into this build somewhere, and so I thought I'll place it down in front of the window that I was initially going to place down these filing cabinets in. And I was thinking, the sim that lives in this apartment, Dave, it's funny because when I'm saying Dave, I'm just thinking of my old dog, bless him, because I'm not sure if anyone is aware of this. I had spoke about this on Twitter not too long ago, but I did used to have, it sounds really sad saying used to, but I did have a dog called Dave who sadly passed away earlier this year. To me, Dave is a dog's name, which I know probably sounds really funny to some people, but you know how oftentimes people will have dogs called like Socks or Max, or a lot of people do have a dog called Jess. I'm not going to lie, it is quite intimidating, but, and you know, like them common dog names, to me, Dave is a dog name because I had Dave for 16 years, like he was 16 years old. I'm actually getting really upset, can't even talk about it, but anyway, besides the point, I had a dog called Dave, and yeah, he sadly passed away earlier this year, and so every single time I'm saying Dave's apartment, I'm just thinking of my old dog, and you're just thinking of some random bloke. But anyway, besides the point, that got really deep without any actual needing to, but besides the point, I imagine at one point in time, Dave the sim, who lives in this apartment, wanted to maybe expand on his like tech business or something, and so he has maybe been having all these different architects come over, and there's some sort of like model on this table in front of the windows, and maybe it's like the next kind of the next company building that they want to build or something. You can see that I've just placed it down over here. I just thought it was really cool, and it's just so unique to the Berlin set. I've got nothing else like this in my game, and so yeah, I decided to place that down. Also, I feel really bad just talking about my dog that passed away. I'm really sorry if that upset anyone, but I mean, we're here for an hour, we might as well have a catch up. I say a catch up, this happened quite a long time ago. It happened like 7-ish months ago. And actually, do you know what, I'm going to make up for it. I recently got a puppy, and when I say recently, literally 4 days ago. He's called Ronald. I was going for Tony, but no one else liked the name Tony. But anyway, I've got a new dog called Ron. And to make up for accidentally making you sad if I did, I'm going to put a picture of my brand new pup on the screen. He's so handsome. He's actually beautiful. How I actually managed to build this whole entire lot, knowing that this little bumblebee was downstairs, I don't know, and I'm actually really proud of it. But yeah, I got a new puppy this week, and he's called Ron, or Ronnie, or Ronald. Only Ronald when he's naughty. But yeah, that is like a little miniature life update. You didn't ask for it, and I never really give you life updates. I don't know why I'm giving you it here, but either way, besides the point, moving on and getting back to the office. As you can see, I'm just going around now and just finishing it up. I ended up placing down this really big desk. The one that I've used is from the Berlin set, and I placed down a computer onto it, but then I also placed down, I don't even know what they're called, but and it kind of confuses me, but you know when you have like a fancy Mac, but not a MacBook, but like one of the MacBook Pros, or like the desktop version, you have like the little computer that you can also buy that goes alongside of it. I place that down to the desk, and then to top it all off, because this sim is in the tech career, you know, he's got loads of different like techie bits and bobs, I then also placed down a literal MacBook onto the desk, and the MacBook that I placed down is a TV, so when your sims are sitting at the desk, they can watch TV or they can go on the computer. It's kind of like the best of both worlds kind of thing. But either way, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved on to the upstairs, and I'm currently going in and furnishing the bedroom. So, like I said, this apartment ends up having 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and I feel really bad saying this, and I'm really sorry, but I did decide to cut out the bathrooms completely. Like, I don't show any furnishings of the bathrooms in this apartment. I show the other bathrooms in the other 2, like, townhouse apartments, but for this apartment, I was going for a more modern bathroom, and me and modern bathrooms, I find them quite difficult, and so it ended up taking me far too long to decorate that bathroom, and so it just made the video even longer than what it is, and so I did decide to cut out the bathroom footage as well as the guest bedroom footage for this house. For the guest bedroom, it was quite generic, just like a generic bedroom. It had some suitcases or like some sort of like luggage in it to make it look like the sim that lives in this apartment has recently had their friends over, and it's kind of like they're staying over bags and stuff. But yeah, I did decide to cut out one of the bedrooms and then the bathrooms, just because it was just making the video too long. But as always, there will be screenshots of absolutely everything that I've done in this townhouse at the very end. And not only this townhouse, but all of them. I have taken so many screenshots. I've got, I think, 104 screenshots of this one build alone. Probably not going to end up placing down every single one of them, like, into the actual video file, but there's going to be a lot of screenshots at the end, so don't worry if I've missed anything out. You will see it in the screenshots. But either way, as you can see, I'm just going around the room now and basically figuring out what kind of furniture pieces I want to fill this bedroom out with. So over here in the corner, I end up placing down this corner, like, sectional sofa piece. The sofa itself is from the David's Apartment set by Puro Sim. Again, I just tried to use a lot of that CC set within this one particular apartment just because it's so nice, and I've been waiting for the perfect opportunity and the perfect chance to use it. And so I used it in the bedroom. I then also end up placing down a little side table, and again I placed down a MacBook, which it just looks like the sim that lives in this apartment has been on the computer and they've just kind of like left it open. But your sims can sit on the sofa in the bedroom and watch TV off a laptop. It's just so cool. But I placed that down into here. Over here I'm currently going in and doing the built-in wardrobe feature. So again, with the David's Apartment CC set, there comes with like piles of jumpers and some shoes and some like hanging clothes and stuff. There is also some built-in wardrobe features from the David's Apartment CC set. So you see over here how I'm just like plonking all these different like shirts and piles of stuff and like shoes and things onto this kind of like sectional wardrobe piece. The one that I've used is from the Lavish set by Charlie Pancakes, but the David's Apartment set does have a walk-in wardrobe feature. But something that I found is with my reshade, the shadows are just so harsh that I can't really see what's inside the wardrobe, because the wardrobe pieces that come with this CC set, they've got some sort of like glass over them, really beautiful, but I just would find it quite hard to decorate them. And so yeah, I decided to use the Lavish set by Charlie Pancakes. But currently, as you can see, I'm just coming in and just placing down loads of different boxes and luggage and suitcases, just random bits and bobs. I try to place down lots of different like smart shirts into the wardrobe, because I'm thinking Dave the Sim would probably often wear like smart shirts, normal kind of like casual trousers, and then some sort of trainers, because I feel like all the kind of like techie people you see, or like any people that work in some sort of technology, always wear like smart casual. Like they always wear like a really nice shirt and then some more like casual, still nice looking trousers, but then some sort of like cool looking trainer to kind of level it out. And so when it came around to decorating the wardrobe, I basically just tried to do that. I used lots of different like white shirts and blue shirts, like clumps of them. I'm thinking if they go to work every single day, they're going to want to wear like a brand new blue shirt or a brand new white shirt every single day. And so there is a lot of them in the apartment. But in this bedroom as well, I decided to use the bed, which is from the Octave set by Hey Harry. And then I think the bedding that I place on top of the actual bed frame itself is also by Harry, but I'm not sure what collection it's from. I think it potentially is the Octave set, but either way, besides the point. As you can see, I'm just basically going around this bedroom right now, basically just finishing up, just making some final touches, adding in some lights, and that is it for apartment or townhouse number 1. But now moving on, as you can see, complete different colour change, because I've now moved on into the next apartment, which is the middle one, and this is the one that I decorated to be for a single mum that lives here with her 2 daughters, and it's more in like a French antique kind of dainty style. So completely different to the last apartment. So in here, as you can see, I've currently started off by furnishing the front entrance hallway. One thing that I did in like this front initial hallway, which I'm just so happy we've now got like CC of it, is if you were to look at the staircase, you can see that I've added some sort of like curved step detail to the end. Now the staircase itself is from the Chateau set by Felix Andre, and Felix Andre gave us the ability to add in these kind of like left and right details that you can plonk onto the ends of the staircases, just to make them a little bit more detailed and a little bit more interesting. And honestly, it's such a small detail, to some people, but not to me, because it just makes me so happy. And so I basically placed down these little steps onto the edge of the staircase, and then I placed down this custom rail piece, again from the Chateau set by Felix Andre. And then in the actual initial hallway itself, I ended up placing down a mirror, I ended up placing down a handbag, and then also placed down some shopping bags. I was thinking that maybe the mum and the girls have recently been out, they've been doing a day of shopping, and they've just left it by the front door, and the mum will settle it later, like she'll sort it out later. But over here, as you can see, I've started off by furnishing the dining room, not the lounge. The lounge in this particular apartment ends up being on the upper level, like on the upstairs. Now, I next to never do lounge rooms on the upstairs of my Sims houses or my Sims apartments, but there is just something that I find really cool about it. And I remember once I was in school and I had a mate, and she had a lounge which was on the second floor. Like, you'd walk in and she would have her dining room and then her kitchen, and then you'd go upstairs and she had like this massive lounge. I thought it was like the best thing since sliced bread, and so I don't really know why I never do that in my Sims builds. But when it came around to decorating this apartment, I knew that I wanted there to be some sort of like formal seating area, because I imagine that the mum in this apartment would often host like dinner parties and have loads of different people around, and probably a little hostess. And so I wanted there to be a dining room, and with the kitchen I wanted it to be really fancy, and I feel like for the particular type of fancy that I wanted to go for the kitchen, it would be so out of place to have a dining room table in it. And so for this apartment, yeah, I decided to make it so the lounge is on the upstairs. But in here, in the dining room, as you can see, I've just placed down this table and then put some matching chairs around it. Now, one thing that I also did on the dining room table, which I often don't do because I think it's a little bit inconvenient when it comes around to gameplay, but I placed down some table settings onto the table itself. And one thing that is so cool, your Sims can still eat their dinner, they can still eat their breakfast, lunch and dinner at the table, and them placements that I've placed onto the table don't affect it whatsoever. Now, the dining room like dinner set, if you want to call it that way, is by Myshuno's son. I can't remember the name of it, but I know that it begins with a G. I'll write on the screen when I remember. But basically, I recently downloaded the CC pack by Myshuno's son, and they have this decoration of a dinner plate setting, but then they also have a version of it that's got no footprint. And what I mean by that, and what that kind of means, is you can place it down onto a dining room table or onto a breakfast bar, and your Sims will still place their bowl or their plate or whatever they're eating off in the middle, and it doesn't affect it. Because the thing is, when it comes around to doing CC builds, I have got a few pieces of CC that work for like dinner settings like this, but although I love decorating and making my houses feel as realistic as possible, I also really appreciate that I want it to be player friendly, and like I want this whole entire build to be completely usable and you're not going to run into any problems. And I don't want to place down a dinner plate setting that might cause you some issues, and probably in the long run you end up deleting. And so I found this like particular CC set, and yeah, the dinner plate setting has no footprint whatsoever. When I was getting my Sim to play test this house, my Sim went and made franken beans and then came and sat at the dining room table, and it just so perfectly matched up. So where my Sim sat and put their bowl, it kind of like matched up with his dinner plate setting. It was really cool. I just had a quick little Google for you, and it's called the Gale set by Myshuno's son, which it comes with a dining room table and then chairs, but the main showstopper for me is the dining set that you can place down onto your Sims, tables, surfaces, whatever, and your Sims can still eat off it. And it looks like, from the Parenthood game pack, when you get your Sims to like set the table for dinner time, it looks like one of them, but this time round, it doesn't disappear every single time you use it, because I love the Parenthood game pack, and I love getting like the kids in my household to go around and set the table every single time at dinner. But then on the same token, it's a bit long-winded to actually get them to go around and set the table, and oftentimes you'll get your Sim to eat their food, and then once they've eaten their food, the dinner plate setting kind of like disappears. And sometimes you want like a more fancy looking house that's always got the dining room table like dressed up and stuff. But anyway, besides the point, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved over into the kitchen of this house. This kitchen is just so beautiful. I use a lot of the Chateau set by Felix Andre in here. I use a new piece of CC that I've literally just downloaded, and it is this like Chateau, almost like stove hood top for the oven. The Chateau set by Felix Andre is honestly like a dream come true to me personally, just because all of the things, all of the furniture pieces, even all of the details down to like the individual clutter items, they are just so perfect and just so special. Like, one of the things that I placed down to the kitchen, which is also from that set, is over here by the sink. There ends up being like this little basket, and it looks like it's got lettuce in it. That is from the Chateau set. But then also there ends up being 2 sinks in this kitchen, as you might notice. There is one small little sink right by the fridge, and then there is another sink by like the back window. Now, I was thinking that the smaller sink that I placed down next to the fridge, I was placing down so when your Sims want to cook, themselves some dinner or something, and they want to maybe use some fresh vegetables, and they want to have them have a little bit of a wash, they would wash them in that little small sink. But then when it comes round to finishing up dinner, your Sims have got lots of washing up to do, they use the big main sink on the other side. It's the smaller details. So I would have never thought, I'm not a CC creator, but I would have never thought in a million years to create smaller sinks for like smaller details like that for kind of like gameplay ideas. But either way, in this kitchen as well, I end up placing down some books, some pasta jars. There also ends up being a little utility room just off the kitchen, which I did decide to cut out. Now, for this townhouse, I decided to cut out the furnishing of one of the bedrooms, which was the nursery, only because it's an infant's nursery, and fairly recently I did a CC build and I had an infant's nursery, and I pretty much used the same stuff, whereas the kids' room in this house ends up having a brand new CC set to me, and so I kind of wanted to showcase that instead. And so yeah, I end up cutting out the nursery upstairs in this townhouse, and then also the utility room. But either way, besides the point, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved on to the upstairs, and I'm currently coming in and furnishing the lounge room. So in here I use this wallpaper, which again is from the Chateau set by Felix Andre, and I'm not joking. When I saw this wallpaper for the first time, my jaw was quite literally on my desk. Like, I cannot get over how stunningly beautiful this wallpaper is. And the best thing about it, it comes in so many lovely swatches. And so I did decide to use this wallpaper a few different times within this house, but just in different swatches to kind of get the use out of it, if you want to put it that way. But in this lounge room, I decided to go for this sofa, which is from, I believe, the Paris set by Felix Andre. And then I decided to use, it's meant to be, I believe, matching armchairs to go along with it, which I would have never thought to pair this sofa and them armchairs together, but they come within the same set, so I'm assuming that they're meant to come as kind of like a pair kind of thing. But the sofa itself is just so different to any other sofa that I've got in my game, and so it was quite unique to say the least. But I do end up cluttering it up with loads of different pillows and loads of different cushions. Currently over here I'm just cluttering up this fireplace. The fireplace itself, I believe, again, is from the Chateau set by Felix Andre, and then above the fireplace I placed down this massive mirror, again by the Chateau set by Felix Andre. And then there is also a really big bookcase on the other wall, and can you guess where it's from? From the Chateau set by Felix Andre. In all fairness, it's a very, very beautiful CC set. I think it's probably one of my favourites that I've ever downloaded, but then saying that, I've got some really good staples that I've had in my game CC wise for literal years at this point. But the Chateau set is kind of like almost sparkly and new. I mean, some pieces I've had in my game for a few months now, but with the Chateau set itself, it was kind of released in different parts. You have like part 1 for the kitchen, and part 2 for the lounge, and part 3 for the bedroom. I don't know if it's actually in that order. I think part 1 was exterior, but you get the gist of it. It is just such a good CC set, and you can basically build a whole entire house using it, just that CC, which, to be honest, this is pretty much what I did anyway. But besides the point, as you can see, in this lounge room, I'm just going around and just placing down some Lean artwork. I went through and I cluttered up the bookcases. I placed down so many different books and random bowls and vases and like head busts and like different plants and just little different like knickknacks, bits and bobs, and just tried to put them all together and try and make them seem some sort of sense and look like they've got some sort of symmetry. In here as well, I placed some art onto the walls. The artwork that I've used, the paintings are from, I believe, Pierrot Sim, and then also Charlie Pancakes, I believe. I believe the Pierrot Sim ones are the Domain set, and then also the Woodland set, and then I have a painting which is from Charlie Pancakes. But something that I like about this CC, you can kind of like mix and match it and kind of create like some sort of like photo walls, which you see that I do in the Brownstone apartment. When you walk in through the front door, I do end up placing down some sort of like photo frame wall, kind of like leaning up a staircase. And yeah, CC artwork is really good for that. But anyway, besides the point, I just finished up the lounge room and now I'm moving on into the kids' bedroom. So in here, I use this new CC set, which is brand new to me. And honestly, I was looking at it for the first time when I was doing this build. So if you see me pull out all these different things and proper look at it, it's because I was looking at the CC for the first time. It's my first time actually playing around with it. But basically, I recently downloaded the CC pack, which is called the Fairylicious CC pack, which is such a fun name, but it's by Felix Andre and the Clutter Cat, I believe. They did a collaboration and they basically made a kids' bedroom set. Oh my, it was so much needed in my game. I don't know about anyone else, but I really struggle to find kids CC. I mean, maybe I'm just looking in the wrong places, but I feel like I've got more CC, funny enough, for infants, which have only been around for 5 minutes, rather than kids that have been around for like, what, 9, nearly 10 years in the game. But either way, in this bedroom, I basically tried to use all the new furniture pieces that we got from this new Fairylicious set. So the bedding that I used, or like the bed frame, is from the Fairylicious set, also the wardrobe, and then also the chest of drawers, the matching desk, and then there is also the most beautiful little artwork pieces. There is 2 bits of artwork. One is more like drawn pictures. There is some swatches of like Disney or like Pixar characters, or is it Disney or Pixar? It's Snow White. What is that? It's not Disney, is it? No, it might be. No, it is Disney. What am I on about? There is loads of different like drawings related to like kids films and stuff. And then there is also this really beautiful painting which has swatches of all these different princesses, and the Sims in these paintings, quite literally, whoever like drew them needs to literally be an artist. So I would actually buy their artwork. So beautiful. And so I placed down a painting of what looks to be Snow White just behind the chest of drawers. Over here, I end up placing down a teddy bear, which is from the Tiny Travelers set. It's kind of like this zebra. And then I end up placing down this little doll's house, which I can't remember off memory where that one is from in particular. But what I'll do is I'll have a look in my game once I finish this voiceover, and I'll pop the name of where you can find that particular doll's house on the screen. But either way, I'm just going around the room, basically just finishing it off, making some final touches. I end up placing down the same rug that I end up placing down in the lounge room, but only because it's like a new shiny item to me and it was just so beautiful, and so I decided to use it again. But now, as you can see, I've now moved on to the upstairs and I started furnishing the mum's bedroom. So in here, where I was so almost like taken back from how beautiful the wallpaper was that I used in the lounge room, I decided to use the same wallpaper but just change it up into a different swatch, and just all the swatches of it is just so perfect. There is a pink swatch, there is a white swatch, there is a blue swatch, there is so many different pastel colour swatches. It is just so lovely, this wallpaper. But in here, I really wanted to use some sort of like fancy bed with like curtains or some sort of thing like draping over it, like a 4-poster bed or something, because where it is the master bedroom in this apartment, I wanted to kind of show that with like how fancy the furniture is in comparison to the rest of the apartment. And so initially I placed down this kind of like canopy looking curtain. It's not a bed frame, it's just something that you can place over a bed. This is by Felix Andre and I believe it's from the Chateau set. Shock there. But then I placed it down and then I thought, no, I think I've got another piece of CC that might work better. So then you would have seen I changed the curtain thing to be a bed thing from the Florence set. But then when I was building, I was noticing that I couldn't really see the bed, and I'm thinking, alright, well, I'm building and I can't see the bed. How is it going to be for you if you just want to play in this house? I want you to be able to click on the bed and send your Sims to sleep. And so I did decide to change it back to the original one that I had. But in here, that ends up being like a little ottoman at the end of the bed. I also end up using these really beautiful new curtains to me, again from the Chateau set by Felix Andre. I think I also used them in the kids' bedroom and then potentially the nursery as well. But in here there ends up being a little armchair in the corner. There also ends up being some leaning artwork, a couple of different plants dotted about. I've also got a brand new pet bed, which you can see that I've placed down kind of squished in between these two archways. When I move the camera in a second you'll see it. But I placed down this new pet bed, which I believe again is from the Chateau set by Felix Andre. I'm actually making myself laugh the amount of times that I'm saying that word, but I just want to tell you where everything is from, and if you've got any questions, feel free to ask me if I've missed anything. But a lot of the stuff that I have used is from that CC set. But I've got some new dog bed CC. There is like a small dog version, and then also a big dog version. I decided to use a small dog version for this particular apartment, but I was thinking that maybe the mum of this household has like a Chihuahua or like maybe like a Pomeranian or something, some sort of like small, fluffy, cute dog, and so that is where the dog sleeps. But in the bedroom, there is this one kind of angle of a screenshot that I've taken, which is probably one of the nicest screenshots I think I have ever taken, and it is from kind of like the bed angle, and it's looking in, and you've got all this sunlight beaming down onto the floor, but then you can see the walk-in wardrobe with all the different like shoes and all the different like hanging clothes and stuff, but then you can also see into the bathroom, which I've now moved on to. The lighting in this apartment is just, it's just something else. It's just so beautiful, and it makes me so happy when you're building and you've got all this natural daylight shining in, because to me, I just find it really inspiring. But in here, as you can see, I decided to go for quite a fancy looking bathtub in front of the windows. I believe the bathtub that I decided to go for in this bathroom is from the Auntie Vera set by Piero Sim, and then I merged in this little tray, which I'm not sure where the tray is from, what CC set, but I know it's by Felix Andre because that's how I found it. But I placed that down to the bathtub, and then I merged in some like lotions and like little moisturizers and some bath salts. Also ended up placing down a nice big mirror in the bathroom as well, and then there ends up being a counter sink set. The counters that I've used in the bathroom are from the Paris set, and then I also placed down like a little sink in there, and then also a toilet, and I think the toilet is in the matching set for the bathtub, so I think it's from the Auntie Vera set. But either way, besides the point, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved over and I've started furnishing the mum's walk-in wardrobe. Now, when I was thinking about this mum that lives in this house with her 2 children, I was thinking that she is the most fancy, well-kept, kind of like high-maintenance kind of sim. I imagine she's really nice and she's really lovely, like she's a really kind person, but I imagine that she really takes a lot of care and almost like pride in her appearance, and so I wanted to give her quite a fancy and quite spacious walk-in wardrobe. So there ends up being loads of different hanging clothes and dresses and loads of shoes and just loads of just like wardrobe-y bits and bobs. I also end up placing down a ottoman in the middle of the wardrobe, and then I placed down some little like roses. Oh, they're not roses, are they? They're peonies, I think. They're beautiful. They're from the Domain set by PRSM, but I placed that down onto the ottoman, and to me, that is just so like French bridal boutique like to have some sort of ottoman in the middle of a dressing room, and then to have like a really beautiful bouquet of flowers on it. And so yeah, that is what I decided to do in that little walk-in wardrobe. But either way, besides the point, as you can see, I've now moved on into the last townhouse, as you can see from the colour change, but now I'm currently furnishing the 3rd and final apartment, which is the more traditional, kind of like classic brownstone one. So for this apartment in particular, I thought it would be really cool to decorate a space for loads of different friends living together, because I often decorate houses for like families or like big like generation legacy kind of things, but I don't very often decorate apartments or houses to be just for like a group of mates, which oftentimes a lot of people just live with their friends. And so for this apartment, I thought, well, let's be real here. If you could actually find this in New York somewhere, the rent is probably going to be a lot of money. You're going to have a lot of people participating in to pay the rent. Why don't I make it so there is loads of different sims that can contribute to the hefty rent that you have at the end of the month? And so yeah, that is basically what I did. I designed this to be quite classic, but then in terms of all the bedrooms, I tried to decorate them all differently and give them all like different bedding and all different styles, and just tried to give them basically a little bit of personality when it came round to decorating their bedrooms. But as you can see, I'm currently coming in and furnishing the lounge room. So in here, I decided to use a sofa which is from the Charlie Pancake Slouch set. I feel like I haven't used this sofa in a really long time, and I feel like for brownstone apartments in particular, this sofa is just absolutely perfect, and so I decided to use it. I do currently have it in a bit of a weird rotation, which I'm really sorry if it annoys you the way that I've rotated it, but basically when I came in and I started initially furnishing it, this like lounge room open space area, I wanted to have quite an open archway so your sims can walk from the main landing through into the kitchen, but then also sit on the sofa. And initially when I placed down the sofa, to me it didn't look like there was enough space for your sims to be able to like wiggle around and actually be able to sit on it. And so I basically rotated it using the tool mod, but I've rotated it and it just looks so out of place. Like, it looked really weird. I was decorating this whole entire lounge room and I left it like it, and it pretty much wasn't until I finished the kitchen, and then normally what I do is whenever I furnish any rooms, I will, start recording, I'll film it, and then once I've finished that room, I'll press stop recording, and then I know this sounds really like silly, but sometimes I'll go around the rooms that I decorate and just kind of like look at them and just see what I've done and just kind of like analyse it. And when I was doing that for this lounge room, I then realised I really didn't like the way that I've rotated the sofa. And so I do end up rotating it back so it's sitting like in a normal way and it's not so ickledy-pickledy. But, I did just want to mention that because you might notice in the screenshots that the sofa is in like a normal placement, and that is because I just basically had a change of art. But anyway, besides the point, in this lounge room, I ended up placing down a fireplace because I feel like that's quite traditional in brownstone apartments. And then I also placed down a little TV console table and then also a TV, kind of like in front of the windows. There also ends up being a standing piano in this lounge room, which, funnily enough, there is 2 standing pianos in this apartment, which I say funnily enough, it's only because the other ones didn't have any, but this one has 2, and it's because one of the Sims that I imagine lived in one of the bedrooms upstairs was someone that has moved recently from the world of Chestnut Ridge, which is the world that we got from the Horse Ranch expansion pack. You'll notice in their bedroom, I decorate it to make it look like they've just come from Chestnut Ridge. Like, there is cowboy hats on the walls, there is loads of different photo frames, which I was thinking was referencing to their home, because there's loads of different like farmland and horses and family pictures and stuff. And so I imagined that the Sim that lived in that bedroom, had recently moved from the world of Chestnut Ridge. They've moved to the big city to try and make it, they've tried to make them something of themselves. They've tried to get famous from being a musician. And there is 2 standing pianos because there is one in their bedroom and then also one in the lounge room. But either way, besides the point, as you can see, I've now just moved over and I started furnishing the kitchen. So in here, I just love how big and open this space is, because this kitchen ends up doubling up to be almost like part kitchen, but then also part like dining room, but then there's also like a little utility room off the kitchen as well. But in this kitchen, I decided to go for these counters, which I think are from the Country Set by Hey Harry. To be honest, I was trying really hard not to use the London counters that we've got from Felix Andre, because there is these one particular counters that I love to pieces, and I feel like I use them in every single CC build. But when it comes around to doing a brownstone apartment, I'm pretty sure I've used them before in the past, and when it came around to furnishing this apartment, I didn't just want to use like the same stuff that I've previously done, and so I decided to go for these counters by Hey Harry. But in here, I ended up placing down this really big 3-tile table in kind of like the window area. How do you put, like, in the little window space where it kind of goes into a bit of a weird diagonal bit? I thought it was the perfect place to place down a dining room table, and so I placed down a really big one. I was thinking that in this house, all the different Sims, all the different like roommates, if you want, will often sit down and have dinner together, and so I wanted there to be a big space for them to do that. The actual kitchen portion itself, so like where the kitchen counters would be, I'm not gonna lie, it does end up being quite small, but it's only because I didn't want to block the windows that I've used in the exterior, and I did initially move one over, and I was debating moving one, but then I didn't want to like ruin the look of the exterior, and so I just decided to make the kitchen counters in this kitchen quite small, which is a bit funny because I imagine a lot of different Sims live in this house, but maybe there's like one Sim, and actually no, maybe there is one Sim, and I'm a Celebrity, if you've watched that in the UK, I don't know if you can get it in the US, but in I'm a Celebrity, when you have like a designated chef, if you want to put it that way, maybe there is one Sim in this household that is like the designated chef or something, and so I feel like it's not too much of a problem that there's not that many kitchen counters. But of course, if you want to and you want to extend the kitchen out and make more room for more counters, definitely feel free to do so. But like I said, I just didn't want to remove the windows on the exterior because then it will look really weird. But either way, as you can see, I was going around the room just finishing up and basically just making some final touches, currently playing around with the curtains, because I was noticing when I was placing down the curtains, you can place them down as an individual item, but then there's kind of like a little rod piece that you can use that kind of connects the curtains to make it look like you could pull them away the whole around the windows. But I was noticing when I was trying to place them down onto the diagonal bits, they were going really weird, and it was something that was happening throughout every single room that has some sort of diagonal in this apartment, which I think must be some sort of like new not like glitch or like bug, but I'm pretty sure I've placed down them rod pieces on diagonal walls before, like them CC rod pieces, and I've never had an issue. And so maybe it's like a new thing in the game where you have to like fiddle about with it. Also, actually, before I forget, because I did want to mention this at one point, I did not build this to be a residential rental, funny enough, even though that is the brand new lot type that enables us to have multiple different families live on one lot. And I didn't do it because I forgot. I did it on purpose because ever since we've got the 4 rent expansion pack, there seems to be a little bit of trouble if you, 1, upload a residential rental to the gallery, but then 2, if you build and the lot type is supposedly set to a residential rental, there seems to be some weird stuff happening. Now, me personally, if I'm being honest, I haven't really encountered too many issues in terms of like building with this new pack, but I have noticed that if you upload a residential rental to the gallery, a lot of people have a lot of trouble downloading it, and I didn't want to build this to be a residential rental and then you not even be able to download it, because I spent like 13, 14 hours on this build, and I want you to be able to download it and enjoy it, and it will break my heart if you couldn't. And so I didn't decide to build it to be a residential rental. I was thinking, if you have got the brand new pack and you do want to play around and use this for its full functionality, you can just download it as a normal residential in your game and then switch it out to be a residential rental. I personally feel like that's probably the best route to go. It just seems to be like this new bug that has come out ever since we've got this new expansion pack, which really makes me sad, because it's kind of off-putting to build with this brand new feature that we just got in the game. Like, it's literally got a whole entire expansion pack almost focused around it, and it seems to be a little bit buggy and a little bit glitchy, but I really hope the Sims team fix it soon. But yeah, I did just want to mention, because if you notice on the gallery it's just listed as a normal residential, I did it on purpose, because even if I did build it to be a residential rental and then I'll switch it back to be a residential just before I upload it to gallery, 1, I didn't really see much point in that, because I might as well just keep it as a residential, but 2, you don't know with the game, sometimes you encounter some weird glitches and some weird bugs, and at one point in time where it used to be a residential rental, it then still might carry over them still problems. And so yeah, I just decided to build it as a normal residential. But either way, besides the point, actually getting back and talking about what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, I finished up the kitchen, and now I've moved on to the upstairs, and I started focusing on the first bedroom. So in here, I decorated this bedroom to be for a sim that is a writer, and I was thinking either has published a few books or is in the process of publishing their first book. And so in here, I decided to give them a relatively fancy, nice looking little desk area. It's got like a nice little computer, it's got like a printer next to it, it's also got some little like pens and a pen pot, and then in their walk-in wardrobe, I decided to use like normal wardrobe pieces instead of building like a physical wardrobe itself. But then in between the wardrobe pieces, I placed down a bookcase, because I was thinking the sim that lives in this house, they're a writer and they love writing, but they're also a massive bookworm in the process of being someone that loves writing. And so I'm thinking, what used to be somewhere to store like their extra towels or like their extra shoes or stuff, they've decided to basically disregard that and use it as a bookcase. And so in their little walk-in wardrobe, I basically made kind of like a little bookcase area. But either way, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved over to the next bedroom, which is the bedroom that I designed to be for a sim that's recently moved from the world of Chestnut Ridge. They've recently moved to the big city and they're basically trying to make it big. And so in here, I tried to decorate it to be somewhat like country-like. I used a lot of the wooden set by PRA Sim in this particular room, but I tried to make it feel like this sim has just moved from the world of Chestnut Ridge, but they've tried to bring a little bit of that world to the city of Myshuno. And so on like their standing piano, I placed down a ton of different photo frames of like their family, their farmland, like their horses and stuff. And then in terms of the decorations in the bedroom itself, I tried to use more like classic kind of farmhousey kind of decorations, if you get my drift. I was thinking that the sim that sleeps in this room just still wants their space to feel like what they're used to, like they still want it to feel like home, but obviously they live in the city of Myshuno. And to me personally, I don't know about anyone else, but I don't imagine Chestnut Ridge and Myshuno to be like neighbouring cities. Like whenever I think of different worlds and how they can like connect with each other, I always think like Willow Creek and Newcrest are quite close to each other, and then Brinton Bay is potentially quite close to like Windenburg, and maybe it's like on the outskirts of Windenburg and stuff like that. Whereas Chestnut Ridge is a partly desert world, and San Myshuno is quite literally a city. Like, to me, it's like miniature New York, and so I feel like it is miles away. And so for this room, I was imagining that this sim kind of wanted to decorate it to kind of make it feel a little bit more like home so they don't get so homesick. But in here, as you can see, I'm currently cluttering up their standing piano. Now, this one is from Felix Andre, and I believe it's from the Florence set off memory. If that's wrong, I'll put a little bit of like text on the screen, but I believe it's from Felix Andre's Florence set. I know it's from Felix Andre because I remember having the symbol next to like the picture of the piano in the catalogue. I know it's got his symbol next to it, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But in this room, I placed down a guitar that we got from the Horse Ranch expansion pack. I also placed down some onto the walls as like purely decoration. I placed down this wardrobe, which I think off memory is from the Domain set, but it looks a little bit more like weathered. Like, it looks like it's a little bit of an older piece of furniture. Also placed on a nice little armchair. The armchair is from that new Woodland Ranch set by Pierre Sim. And then, yeah, I'm just going to go around the room. Basically just finish it off by placing down some hanging plants and then also pop down a rug. Also, that rug that I used in that room, I've also used in a few different spaces around not only this apartment, but in some of the other apartments as well. And it's really versatile because it's got so many lovely swatches, which you can use in so many different types of settings. Like, I used that rug, which I used in a more like classic farmhousey kind of decorated bedroom, but I used it in the apartment next door, which is like the fancy French antique chateau one. And so yeah, it's very versatile. But it's from the Woodland Ranch set by, again, at Pierre SM. But either way, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved over and I've started furnishing one of the bathrooms. So in here, I decided to use this shower and bath combo, which I believe is from Harry's, I think, the country set. You know, Hey Harry, it's one of her earlier sets, I believe, but it's one of the only few shower and bath combos I've got of custom content in my game. I'm definitely on the search of some more because I've got this one, and then I've also got one which again is by Hey Harry, but then Felix Andre as well. It was from their basic set. It's meant to be like IKEA in The Sims, but that one's a little bit more modern. I'm definitely on the hunt for some more CC shower and bath combos, so if anyone knows of any, please let me know. But anyway, in the bathroom, I decided to use like a counter piece as like the sink unit. I then placed down some plants on top of it, some towels, little toothbrush and soap and stuff. And then also in the bathroom, I placed down a toilet, but then in front of the toilet there was quite a nice view of the window, and so I thought it might be quite nice to place down a little stool and place down some plants on top of the stool to make it look like the Sims that live in this apartment or this particular bedroom and that ensuite are trying to make their little plants grow in the natural daylight. But anyway, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved on into the last room of this apartment, or like the last room in this whole entire build, which is the final bedroom. Now, if you have been counting, you might have noticed that I did skip over one of the bedrooms, which you can actually just about see as I'm coming in and decorating this walk-in wardrobe in this particular bedroom. But I did decide to cut out one of the bedrooms in this apartment, only because it was the smallest one, and I spent a long time trying to pick out a bed frame of all things, because I don't know if you've noticed, but in every single apartment and every single bedroom, I've tried to use different furniture pieces, so there's like no similarities. And by that point, I didn't really have that many left to choose from, and so I just took a time just trying to pick it out. But I knew that I wanted to use the particular bed frame that I've used in this bedroom in this one, because this one is a bed frame by Felix Andre, which is from, I believe, the Georgian set off memory. It's absolutely beautiful. It's this really fancy 4-poster bed, and I really wanted to use it in this room because I knew how perfectly it would match with this wallpaper. So for the Sims that are going to be sleeping in this bedroom, I do imagine that there was going to be a couple, because I feel like oftentimes if you share an apartment or like you house share with people, you can often find rooms for like couples to rent if you're familiar. But in this apartment, especially in the walk-in wardrobe, I tried to make it quite apparent that there is 2 Sims, because I tried to decorate some clothes to be more masculine and some clothes to be more feminine, and so there's kind of like wardrobe pieces for each, if you want to put it that way. But in here, like I said, I use that bed by Felix Andre. I then also use the set by Felix Andre and Hey Harry for the wardrobe, which is the basic set, but I believe it's called Packs of Memory if you want to search it, like when you want to try and build using it. But then in the actual bedroom itself, I really didn't know what to do with this space, because where there was 2 Sims sharing this bedroom, I didn't want to just decorate it to be towards one type of personality and like skill set, and so I tried to make it somewhat generic. I ended up placing down a bedside table either side the bed, and then on one side I placed down like a little tiny alarm clock, on the other side I placed down loads of different like lotions. I was imagining them to be like hand cream and moisturiser and stuff like that. But over here on the other side of the wall, I was spending what I felt like quite a long time trying to pick what kind of armchair or what kind of like sofa comfy thing to place basically in front of these windows. In the end, I'm pretty sure I end up using the matching sofa like ottoman piece, the one that I use downstairs. So the slouch sofa by Charlie Pancakes, I end up using like the ottoman version of that and merging in some pillows onto it. I'm pretty sure I end up placing down like a little tray and some binoculars, and then other than that, I think I'm going to go around the room, finish it off, make some final touches, and that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My gallery ID is JessicapieYT, or you can just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you especially if you made it the whole way throughout this whole entire video. I know it was a big long one, but if you did, I appreciate it and I appreciate you. And yeah, other than that, thank you for watching. As always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedrunning video. Bye guys.